This video is sponsored by Deep Cut Studios. For a wide range of fantastic gaming resources such as battle mats, dice trays and pre-painted bases, check out the description below. Hi guys, welcome back to TNG Productions. My name is Tom and we're back with another Citadel Contrast painting tutorial, and this week we're going to be doing something a bit more sci-fi. We're going to be looking at some pox-walkers for Warhammer 40,000. Now this video is designed for people like me who maybe don't enjoy the painting side of the hobby that much but want something really achievable for the tabletop that looks nice, that can be done quite easily, quite quickly, and is very simple to replicate. So we're going to be using a Army Painter Regiment brush for the majority of this paint job. We're starting with a Wraithbone undercoat spray, and as I said, I'm going to show you how to do this with contrast paints, and then we're going to do a bit of dry brushing afterwards. So to start with, we're going to be using the Guilliman flesh and a little bit of Volupus pink for the flesh tones. Now the Guilliman is going over anywhere we've got bare skin. The Volupus is for any of the weird kind of tentacle appendages these guys have. They are absolutely disgusting to paint, these guys, and I love them for it. So yeah, we're just going over the Guilliman, and as you can see with the Volupus flesh, we're going to do a little bit of blending while the paints are both wet, so don't wait for the Guilliman to dry. Apply the Volupus while it's still wet. Go over any of the areas with the tentacles, and all you need to do then, as you can see on camera, is just move the paints into each other. So if you want to lighten the transition into the Volupus, put a bit more Guilliman, as you can see here. If you want to make sure the Volupus is a bit darker near the tips of the tentacles, just pop a little bit more on. You can see I'm bouncing between paint pots here. Really, you should kind of wash your brush in between, but just blend the two in until you get a nice transition. And if you want to see this in a little bit more detail, have a look at the Sylvaneth video that we put up, and you can see me doing it there. But as you can see, just a little bit of a transition to lighten the Volupus as it's meeting the Guilliman, and likewise that's getting that pinky tone as it blends into the tentacles, and we'll blend it together with some dry brushing afterwards. Anyway, so we're on to Skeleton Horde next. That is going to be used for all the horn appendages. If you really wanted to, you could do some blending here, but it's really not necessary. The Skeleton Horde has this nice brown tone in, which will draw all the attention to the areas where it differentiates with the flesh. As with all the contrast paints, I'm just making sure that I keep the paint moving so it's not pooling in any areas of the miniature, and as you can see, we get already a really nice tone. Now by this point the paints are going to need to dry thoroughly because we're going to put another paint on top of the flesh. So in the meantime, you might as well do your basing. So just to show you in case you want to replicate this, we've got the Astraganic Dunes, which I've just put on with the spatula tool, and a little bit of the Abaddon black around the base, but you could use any colour you want. Now, as I said, once that's all dry, you can then go on with Plaguebearer Flesh. Now, you need to use this sparingly. I've applied it to anywhere that there are these large pustules or boils, not every little dot. Maybe where you've got the larger, more pronounced ones. And when they've got these kind of really nasty pustules on their backs, go around the rim of kind of the hole, as it were, where this is. It's really hard to explain, but essentially pick out areas that you think you want to look a little bit rotten and gross, as you can see that I'm doing here, and just making sure that we've got this kind of nasty infected flesh. So you can see really makes those areas pops, but it also blends quite nicely into the Guilliman flesh without looking like too much of an extreme colour. Now for the clothing, I've gone with gryph-hound orange because I really like the idea of this kind of being like a hazmat suit for all of them. And I'll show you a shot of a big crew of these together at the end, and actually it looks really nice with them all together. You could use many colours for this depending on the tone you want. I find the orange is a really nice contrast. I always use that pun in these videos and I can't really pardon myself for it now. But it's a really good contrast with the flesh tone and the pinkiness of the tendrils, and it also goes nicely against that grey base. However, if you go with a sandy base, maybe you could look at a blue, or maybe even the Space Wolves grey, which is that kind of bluey grey. But as you can see, one coat goes on really nicely. I'm moving to a slightly smaller brush for the next part. You might want to use an Army Painter character. I'm just using the Kalinsky Masterclass, I think it's called. It's the free one that comes with the, 30 quid set of all the Army Painter brushes. We're using Black Templar for any of the metallic areas of their weaponry, and any blades we're going to do in Basilicanum Grey. Basilicanum Grey is an amazing kind of non-metallic metal colour. You could use Space Wolves Grey. I've used that in previous videos for like slightly more stony, lighter grey. But essentially, the Black Templar is going on any of the piping, for want of a better word, and the Basilicanum is going on the blade work. And that will allow us to get a slight differentiation in the miniature without it all being that kind of same weapon colour. And as you can see, looks really nice as is as a non-metallic. And that really just leaves us the belt to do. So, moving on to that step, very conveniently, we're on to Snakebite Leather now. Again, this is why we're using a slightly smaller brush to get into all those details. If you're a slightly more confident painter, unlike me, you could probably do this with a regiment brush. I've done slightly more fiddly things before with it, but just for the sake of neatness, we're using the Snakebite Leather. This is a paint that you need to make sure goes on really evenly. Do not allow it to pool, because otherwise it will go really, really dark, and you don't really want that at all. So just keep it moving. If you spot any areas that's pooling, either use a clean brush to pull it off, or just move it around into the next part, and make sure you get it all full on in a decent even coating so it doesn't dry too quickly. But at this stage, this is our kind of tabletop ready miniature, and you can see already the effects look really, really nice. We've got good pop of colours, and that flesh looks vile and infected, and I absolutely love it. But if you want to take the miniature a little bit further, we can do a little bit more. So for the base, while everything dries, we're going to put a little bit of Agrax Earthshade because we're going to do some dry brushing for that afterwards. And actually the dry brushing steps for this tutorial are literally just 2 colours. And that will allow you to take it kind of from that tabletop standard to a little bit more of a, you know, we're not going to call it display piece, but, you know, slightly something we're slightly more happy to have. So as that's drying, we're going to go on to the metallics now. Now you can use any metallic you want. I'm just going to use a small dry brush for this. I'm going to use Lead Belcher. You could use Necron Compounds. You could use any of the other ones like Iron Breaker. However, I'm just going to dry brush this on all the metallic areas. Try not to be too heavy with dry brushing. As always, less is more. You're better to build up the layers than put too much on your brush to start with and go over. And as you can see, the metallics start to blend together now. You haven't got that clear differentiation between the blade and the gun. They just nicely flow. And for the rest of the model, we're going to be using Shabti Bone. Now, it's especially important here that you don't have a lot on your brush because this is going to go over the horns, starting at the top and working downwards. It's going to go over the flesh areas, and it's going to go over the orange and the base. So you want to use this in different levels of intensity, and all of it really only needs a light coating. If you want to go over the teeth and the eyes in a little more depth, you could also give them an additional coat of Skeleton Horde or even the Plague Bearer Flesh while you're here. I just dotted it in while I was doing it in the earlier steps. But you can see going over the trousers and the base, all with this colour. And what it does with the contrast paints need a blend colour with the dry brush to bring it all together so they don't look too stark and different. And here you have it. This is our finished miniature, and you can see the flesh tones have got a nice little pop now. The horns are also blending really nicely along with the base. So at this stage, you could call it there. If you want to go a little bit further, I'll show you one final step. But as you can see, really, really helpful tip here is to just make sure that you keep things moving. Make sure you do that blending with the tendrils, as you can see here. And as for that final tip, here you go, Blood for the Blood God. If you want to take it one step further, here's one I made earlier, Blue Peter reference for you there. And you can put a little bit of Blood for the Blood God around the miniatures here, just in the areas to make the swords look like they're weeping and gross and bursting and all manner of stuff. But I'll put them side by side there so you can make your choice. Now, grand total miniature painting time, you're looking at about, without drying times, you're looking 15 to 20 minutes. This is a really quick paint job. And as you can see, if you can get the blending right with these tentacles and tendrils, you can have plenty of goes with it. You can get some really, really nice effects. And all you're using is this colour palette for different areas of the miniature. So the goggles are just using the black. You can see the Basilicanum grey on this guy's shoulder pad. The orange really pops nicely with the entire crew together. And you've even got this guy here with the Basilicanum arm and all that blood for the blood god coming out of the tendrils. And it makes a really, really fantastic, utterly disgusting group of minis. So really, really enjoyed painting these guys and had really good fun with them. So we hope this tutorial has been really helpful for you. If you've got any questions at all or any guidance that you need, feel free to put a comment in the description below. And we look forward to seeing you in the next one. Take care, guys. Hi guys, thank you very much for watching our content. It means the world to us. If you'd like to see some more videos, they should be over here. And if you'd like to support our channel, keep these lights on. You can find links to our Patreon and merchandise in the description below. See you later.